In 2022, we laid the groundwork for this critical election cycle by running the largest ever election integrity operation across the country.
The RNC is leading the fight to help secure your vote in 2024 as well.
Because of these efforts to secure our election, I'm confident in asking you to bank your vote.
We need to decide right here and right now that Republicans are going to work harder than ever before, and that Republicans are going to decide to vote early.
Voting early is a safe, secure, and effective way of ensuring your vote is counted this election season.
We must all use early voting to our advantage, and the Bank Your Vote program will do just that.
This initiative will educate Republican voters on how, when, and where to cast their votes.
Hi-yow! Info Ninja. Welcome back to the dojo, everybody. Man, I missed you guys. I know it's been less than 24 hours at this point, but when I roll over in the middle of the night and you're not there, it just doesn't feel right. So I'm so glad to be back here. I'm so glad to be deep inside you again, deep inside your ears, sickos. I can hear your thoughts deep inside your ears. It's an honor. I feel honored every time you share this show with a friend. I don't know who you're sharing it with. Maybe it's a friend, maybe it's an enemy. I've made that suggestion a few times, but every time that I've seen that you've shared it, I've thought, you know what? Somebody likes what I'm doing enough to share it with someone else, or to share it with the world if you're putting it out publicly on your social media. So do me a favor right now. If you're on Rumble, we are Info Ninja on Rumble. There's a share button. Hit that share button on there. And if you have social media like Truth Social, we are Info Ninja on Truth Social, or X, we are at Info Ninja Show. You can usually just tap on the icon for those social medias and it'll share the show right to it. You never know who's going to become a new fan. You never know who's going to thank you later. They're going to go, you know, my life was heading in one direction and then you gave me the Info Ninja and everything changed. Thank you, Dojo member. And let me say thank you to you right now for changing my life every time you hit that share button.
Can somebody give me a high?
So if Republicans really want to win this election, I'm still not convinced that they want to. There are literally some Republicans that are Republicans for Harris. I kid you not. These are like the Jews that worked with the Nazis. Seriously. What are they seeing about the current state of being? And what are they seeing about Kamala Harris that makes them want to be Republicans for Harris? I think it's just their TDS, their Trump derangement syndrome. But yes, they do exist. And if the Republicans that want to win really want to win, these are not the shills, the actual conservatives. If they really want to win, the rule for them in all elections, all along, I think, but certainly in this election and all elections coming after, the rule of thumb is Republicans need to win by at least a 10% margin if they want to be declared the victors the next day. And I can break it down easy for you. That 10% can be split into two different categories. So 4 to 5% of that 10% they must win by is because election fraud. This is what the Democrats do. This is one of their A games. This is your midnight ballot trucks, where in the middle of the night, all these ballots show up for the Democrats. These are your ghost scans. This is when they take a ballot that is filled out for all Democrats and then they just scan it over and over and over again in the counting machine, so it skews the results. This is also your illegal voting. So this is people that are illegal and should not be voting, so they're not citizens of this country, or these are like dead people voting. So illegal votes. So that is your election fraud, 4 to 5%. And then the other half of that 10% that the Republicans need to win by is election theft. This is influence mostly. This is the entire media lying, essentially being shills for the Democrats. This is especially social media censoring conservative posts and promoting liberal Democrat posts more than conservative posts. This is election theft. More than anything else, the biggest group responsible for election theft and skewing the results is Google. How Google returns the search results can dramatically affect an election. This search bias that is created by Google just ripples throughout the rest of the internet and bleeds into social media as well. So Google is definitely the biggest culprit. And case in point, this article. This is newsbusters.org. So the headline, Google won't let up. Search giant turns users to Harris in searches for completely different names. Now, it was one thing when you would search for something conservative or Republican or related to Donald Trump, and the top 25 search results will be nothing but negative press. That was one thing, but now they're doing that plus putting in the other team's search results. So you're searching for Donald Trump and you're getting positive articles about Kamala Harris. So let's read the rest of the article here. So Google is still redirecting users to news about Vice President Kamala Harris, even when they search for a completely different name, an MRC Free Speech America search found. Now that the Democrat Party nominee has picked her running mate, Tim Walz, MRC decided to put Google once again to the test. Researchers conducted a comparison of Google's search results when searching for J.D. Vance rally and Tim Walz rally, and in both cases, Google referenced Harris. But in the case of Vance, Google referenced Harris even before Vance. I'm not kidding you, folks. This is ridiculous. They're doing this blatantly out in the open because they know nobody's going to say anything. Essentially, the media is not going to speak up and blow the whistle on them because they're all in the same team. They're all in the same boat together, and they know that nobody's going to do anything about it. There's not going to be any kind of legislation to prevent this. There's not going to be any kind of consequence for them. So they're just going to keep doing it. We have to make people aware of it. So it says when MRC researchers search for terms like J.D. Vance rally, on Tuesday, Google displayed a news panel labeled Top Stories Kamala Harris and J.D. Vance. Wow. So I thought after reading this, and if you read the rest of the article, there's just example after example. I thought, let's actually give this a shot. So I tried it out myself, and I first tried Trump rally. So if you search for Trump rally on Google at this moment, you get a thing that pops up and it says top stories, okay? And it's a panel, and it's got 4 top stories on it, at least in the view that I'm seeing. So top left of the panel, it's a panel of 4. It says Trump's 90-minute speech at Atlanta rally splits attacks between Harris, Georgia, and then it ... afterwards. So the first thing mentions Trump and Harris in it, but let's see what else the rest of these panels say. So the other top panel to the right says the latest on the 2024 presidential election, and it's got a picture of Kamala Harris and Tim Walz smiling at a rally. Now, the bottom two, the one on the left and the one on the right, the bottom left says live election updates. Harris and Walz take on Vance in battle for Midwest. Then the one on the bottom right says highlights from the 2024 presidential election campaign, and it's just got like a bunch of crowd kind of photo looking on it. So essentially, I searched for Trump rally, and 1, 2, 3 things. 3 things. Out of 4, 75% of it mentioned Kamala Harris and Tim Walz, and I searched for Trump rally. So obviously this is true, but let's try it again. Let's just search. Let's not even put rally in. That might be confusing, the search terms. Let's just search for Donald Trump. So when you do that, the first thing that pops up is it's a panel of pictures that says Donald Trump, 45th U.S. president. It's got a few like stats about him, about who his vice president was and what his birthday was and when he was born. And then it's got something about a Facebook post about Kamala Harris. Of course, she's mentioned right away, but let's actually scroll down and see what it says right below it. So of course, this is just a panel of pictures, not really any information, and just a few bio stats. So the first real information on this page, where all we did was go to Google and search for Donald Trump, this is what comes up. Top stories: Kamala Harris and Tim Walz rally in Wisconsin. I'm not kidding you. The next story underneath that: it brought armed people to my house. Politico talks to Tim Walz on being targeted by Donald Trump. This is true, folks. This is all true. To the right, the other two articles mention Donald Trump and Tim Walz in both of them, and they're both pictures of Tim Walz. Not even a picture of Donald Trump is on there. So, folks, this is why Republicans need to win by at least 10% to be declared the victors the next day. Because if they actually win and it's only by 3%, the election fraud is going to cover that and Democrats will be declared the victor. Remember, it doesn't matter who the actual winner is. It only matters who is declared the victor. And if Republicans can't do that by at least a 10% margin, then it's not going to be them. Oh, shit! Oh, shit! So this is the part that frustrates me the most. If I know this, the Info Ninja knows this, you can be darn well sure that the Republican Party, the officials, know this. The people with the power to influence and make change and with money behind them know about this. And they have literally done nothing. Yes, you can say that some Republicans have done very few things, and there have been some local efforts in sporadic locations that we know about. There may be more that we don't know about, but as a whole, you can say that the Republican Party nationally has almost done nothing to change anything since 2020. They either want the Democrats to win, they're in denial, or they hate Donald Trump. Whatever it is, they have done nothing to change this except one thing. They've given one piece of direction overall, nationally, as the party. And this is the one thing, this is their plan to prevent all of that 10% election fraud and election theft. And what is that? Vote early. Is this really a good idea to go vote early? It makes sense. I mean, theoretically, it makes sense. It sounds like a good idea. Get out and vote early. That way we can get the numbers in right away. There's nothing they can do to cheat us then. And that way, you won't forget to or get tired or get, busy and not be able to vote on election day. We need big turnout. And that's 100% true. We need everybody to turn out. But if we vote early, is that going to fix the 10% issue? Even if everybody comes out and votes early, the biggest turnout in the last 50 years for Republicans, and they all come out and do it early, is that going to help Republicans win? The answer is no. Voting early is a very, very bad idea.
What did he say?
Now, I can hear some of you right now going, what? That's crazy. Why would the Republicans say to do that unless it was a good idea? And of course, it makes sense, go vote early. All the reasons you just mentioned that it makes sense. It does make sense for those reasons. And I say it makes sense if you want to tell them how much they need to cheat on election night. If you want to give them a forecast, if you want them to know how many extra fake ballots they're going to need to cover the spread, then go vote early. That's what they're hoping for. Whoever gave that direction from within the Republican Party is a rhino, Republican in name only. They're a Democrat in disguise, because that is a terrible idea. Going to vote early is like being in a war with another country and calling them and saying, hey, we're going to attack at noon with 30 tanks. Just letting you know, at this location, this is the direction we're coming. Or the police calling a criminal and saying, hey, by the way, we're not going to have any squad cars around the banks this weekend. Just saying it, leaving it out there. That's the same thing as telling the powers that be in the deep state liberal Democratic Party how many fraudulent votes they need to provide on election night, how many ghost scans they need to do, how many midnight ballot trucks need to be on order for that night. That's what happens when we vote early. So please, please do not vote early. Do not encourage others to vote early. Encourage yourself and others to vote on election day. You hear me? I'm going to say it one more time. Do not vote early. Vote on election day, and then do the only other thing we can do after we vote on election day, and that, my friends, is to pray. Hi-yow! Info Ninja.
Let's go, Brandon. Hey. Let's go, Brandon.
Hey.
Let's go.